Hi everyone. Hey, by now most of you have probably seen the trailer for The Sacred Thread. And if you haven't, check it out at thesacredthread.tv. But for those of you who have seen it, we have been hearing from you about how excited you are about this landmark television series. And we just completed the very first episode. You're going to have an opportunity to get an exclusive preview at thesacredthread.tv for those of you who are signed up there. So make sure that you are doing that if you haven't done that already. And for many of you, you reached out to us and you said, we had no idea that you were working on this. Exactly. We kept this under the radar for the last 2 years because we've been brewing on this idea, and there was so much work that had to be done, and we wanted to try to figure out exactly kind of what we had. For others of you, you said, we guessed it. We knew you were working on something like this, and we're so excited. You know, over the last 2 years at the year-end impact report, we just put a little paragraph that said we were working on a significant video project. What we didn't say is that it was a landmark television series. So we're excited about finally getting this out in the open, being able to publicly share the trailer and to let folks know what we are up to. And what we wanted to do was to provide you the backstory on how we got to this point, because it is an amazing story that God has been weaving together for several years. And on April 29, I had the opportunity to stand in front of a small crowd of folks who helped us to fund and do all of the things necessary to get the pilot episode completed. And I got to share with them the backstory, as well as to invite Joel Edwards, the founder and president of Evolve Studios, our partner in all of this. And together, Joel and I got to share more about what we were doing and why we were doing it. And so I want to show you that footage from April 29th so that you get that same experience that small group did in that theater that night, to get a better understanding of what we're up to, why we're doing it, and how we're doing it. And I think you're going to marvel at just what God has been doing through this incredible kingdom story. So let's watch that together. Thank you all for being here. I know that for many of you, you have been driving for the last 2 days to get here. Many of you have been on airplanes. A number of you are local here, and so grateful for you to be part of this evening. A number of you were brought in from the very beginning. Some of you were brought in the middle, and some of you saw the trailer yesterday for the first time, and you're showing up here this evening to find out about this project that has been in the works for some time. And many of you I know and know really well, and so you know that I don't throw terms like Kingdom Project or God's hands have been all over this lightly. We all know that there's been a lot of projects out there that people are doing and they want to attach God's name to it, but this has really been from the get-go a God-ordained project. I mean, inexplicable in how things came together, and it has just been absolutely an amazing journey that has brought us to this evening. So thank you for being here. Thank you for trekking cross country to get here. Thank you for those of you who are watching live stream. We have a number of people watching live stream that weren't able to make it, and we're excited to share with you about this kingdom project, The Sacred Thread. And this whole thing really got started nearly 3 years ago. June 7th, 2019, at El Burrito Feliz in downtown Saugatuck, Michigan. Nate Young, yes, it was an Italian restaurant. It was a Mexican restaurant. Some of you are like, wait a minute. And I was having a conversation with one of our fantastic board members at Walking the Text, Nate Young. And my board members had mentioned on a number of occasions, hey, we got to do a video series at some point. But it was on that Friday night, sitting across the table from Nate, where Nate just said to me, Brad, now is the time. We've got to pursue a video project. And I just said, Nate, I've had it burning in my heart literally for years to do something. But I don't have a vision yet for what we can do that wouldn't just be a 2.0 version of what somebody else has already done. And I want to be able to do something that fits my unique gift set that God has given to me and that can impact a lot of people. And he said, well, let's figure it out. And I go, what do you propose? He said, let's get together for an entire day. You grab a couple of people, I'll grab some people, and let's just get in a room and dream about what this could be. And so Nate grabbed one of his right-hand man at the company that he was at that I actually knew really well, a passionate follower of Jesus, Jason Kerr. And then I had two folks that I wanted to be in this brainstorming from Florida. Today, they are now my creative and content directors at Walking the Text, but they weren't at that time. Mark Nogler, Brad Nelson, two people that I trusted most. And we flew everybody up to West Michigan. We were still down here, so I flew up to West Michigan. And in late September of 2019, we got together for an entire day and just brainstormed what we could do. And at the end of the day, Nate looked at me and said, out of all the things we've talked about, which one is burning in your soul right now? And I said, it's this one right here. And I just named the idea. And he said, great. The most important thing that you can do is nothing. He said, if this is of God, it's going to come back around. But right now, we're just all really excited because we spent the entire day dreaming. But if this is something that God is going to make happen, it will come back around. And so for the next several months, you've got Thanksgiving, you've got Christmas, you dip into the new year. I led my first trip in 2020. We left at the end of February. We landed at Chicago O'Hare on March 9 with notifications on our phone saying Israel is now closing due to something called COVID-19. 2 days later, the NBA closed, and 3 days after that, everything that we were doing at Walking the Text outside of what we were doing online was canceled. Every speaking engagement, our conference, trips, gone. And like all of us, we took a few days to get our feet underneath us and to try to swallow this new reality that was underway. And I distinctly remember sitting at my desk and going, God, you've just given the gift of time. How do we look back on this moment and say, we stewarded the time that you gave? And it was at that moment that it just became abundantly clear we needed to revisit this idea for a television series. And at this point, Mark Nogler had already and his family moved from Florida to this area. And Brad Nelson is in Florida, and so we flew Brad up, and the three of us got together for several days. And we just started to dream about what this could be, and we built out several seasons of content. And then we said, okay, season 1, we really got to zero in on this first episode. Brad flew back to Florida after a few days, but collectively we worked on this for weeks and weeks and weeks, writing, rewriting, and we did a full Hollywood screenplay for this very first episode. And when we got to the point where we felt really good about it, we sent it off to the president of the largest Christian film association in the world, and we said, what do you think? And he looked at it and he said, this thing's got some life to it. And he said, keep going with it. And he says, I've got a few suggestions for you, and he gave us those suggestions, and we reworked it as a result of his suggestions. And then we got to the place where we felt really good again, and then we sent it off to a senior producer at ESPN. And we said, what do you think? Because he was a friend of Mark, who is my content creative director and one of the writers for the series. And he said, this thing is great. And he said, and out of all of the companies that we work with at ESPN in the United States that is perfect for this project, you got to hunt down Evolve Studios. And that's all he said. And so Mark and I jump online and we're like watching the sizzle reel and we're like, oh, no way, like we know all of these shows. Like Top Programming, ESPN, National Geographic, Discovery Channel, Netflix, to name a few. And then we're like, where in the world are they located? Franklin, Tennessee. And it was like, you've got to be kidding me. And a few days later, I was having lunch with Darren Whitehead, one of my good friends who is a senior pastor at Church of the City. And we were at Wild Ginger because all great conversations happen over sushi. And we're just catching up, and Darren just says, hey man, it's been a few months since COVID has set in. What are you guys working on at Walking the Text? And I said, well, we're not sharing this with anyone, but we've got this idea and we're building it out. And so I pitched the project to Darren. And he got this big smile on his face, and he just looked over at me and he says, who's your production company? I said, well, apparently there's a company around here named Evolve Studios. I said, I don't know anything about them, but we got to try to find a way to get a meeting with them. And Darren starts laughing. He goes, Brad, Joel, who is the founder and president of Evolve Studios, is one of my best friends. He moved the production studio from Chicago to Franklin to help us start Church of the City, on which I am on the teaching team for. He goes, Joel is at our church, and Joel is coming over to my house tomorrow night. I am pitching this project to him. I was like, dude, thank you. So the next day, Thursday, Joel is driving to Darren's house, and the senior producer of ESPN, we did not ask him to do this, called up Joel and pitched the project. Joel showed up at Darren's house and then got pitched the project. And the next day I got an email from Joel going, I think we need to meet. And so we got together shortly thereafter, and it was Joel and Mark and I sitting in a room at Evolve Studios for over 3 hours. And early in the conversation, Joel asked the ever-important question, why? Why do you want to do this? And we just responded by saying we are all aware of the alarming statistics of people walking away from the church, from God, from faith, from the Bible. And I said, we've got to do something about this. Because at Walking the Text, what we have found is that context is everything, and yet the vast majority of people have not experienced the Bible in its original context. And when people experience the Bible in its original context, it changes how they understand the Bible. And what's so cool about this is that you can take someone who's been a follower of Jesus for 4 decades, and they experience something about the Bible that they never knew was there, and their soul begins to soar. But then you can take people who don't have a great relationship with the Bible or have not had a lot of interaction with it, but when they experience it in its original context, they at least understand what's going on, and then it allows also the Holy Spirit to work in their hearts at an amazing level because they understand what is being said. And so we just said, Joel, these people are walking away from the Bible, they're walking away from faith, they're walking away from the church, and they're not walking back through the doors. We have to meet them where they're at. And where they're at, they're on streaming platforms. They're on Netflix, they're on Amazon, they're on Apple TV, and we've got to go to them. But we can't go to them with second-rate Christian media. We have to go to them with utmost quality and disarm them with the quality so that we can actually share with them the message we want them to hear. And I just said, we can't, if we're going to contend at the crossroads of culture, which is entertainment, we have to do it with absolute excellence. And why shouldn't we? We represent the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and Christian media shouldn't just meet industry standards, it should exceed it. Amen. In both content and production value, because we've got the greatest message in human history. And so I just said, Joel, we want to contend at the crossroads of culture, and we're looking for someone who wants to contend with us. And then I just shared with him this insight that was, it's not a new revelation, but it was kind of new for me because I was studying ancient theater and how it was developed, and it was just this fits exactly what's going on. And I just said, Joel, one of the things that I've recently learned is that when the theater was first developed, it was in the 6th century BC in Athens. And when it was originally introduced into culture, it was for the purpose of entertainment. But what they began to realize very quickly is that the theater didn't just need to be a place of entertainment, it could actually become a place of education on worldview. That if you wanted to change society, if you wanted to push culture in a certain direction,
introduce those culture-shaping ideas into the theater. And as people come and let down their hair, some people can do that more than others, and they're entertained, you can entertain them into a new education on the direction of what culture should be and where it should go. And it hasn't changed in 2,500 years. If you want to change culture, if you want to push the envelope, if you want to take something taboo and normalize it, create a show and watch how quickly it's adopted. And I said, we need to entertain people into a new education, back to who God is, why Jesus came, and why following him is the greatest adventure we have in this life. And I said, we just need to know, are you interested? And Joel just looked at us and he said, y'all are tugging on my heartstrings right now, but we're going to have to vet this project. And he says, because if we're saying yes to you, we're saying no to a lot of the big players that we do business with. And I said, you take however much time you need. And he goes, all right. I didn't think it was going to take 3.5 months for them to vet this project, but they vetted it from every which angle. And the day after Thanksgiving, I got a call from Joel. And Joel said, we're in if you're in. And I said, what do you mean? He said, if you want to contend at the crossroads of culture, if you want to do something at the utmost of excellence, it's not cheap. And I said, lay it on me. And he gave me the number, and I swallowed the deepest swallow I've probably ever done. And he said the number, and I realized what it was going to need to be from our end and to create some margin, because you just never know with COVID and postponements and all that. And we determined in that moment it was going to require a $650,000 investment. And I said to Joel in that moment, Joel, either God's in this or he's not. Either he's been leading us or he hasn't. And I said, I'll get back to you shortly. And so Mark and Brad and I started to put together a script. A week and a half later, we filmed a 10-minute pitch video. And 10 days before Christmas, I sent it out to 15 people and said, here's what we believe God is leading us into. Would you like to be part of it? And if you know anybody who might be interested, share it with them as well. And in the most amazing and miraculous ways, we were fully funded in 6 weeks with stories that I could take the next hour to share with you about. And by the way, we have so much behind the scenes stuff that we're creating for this as well to tell all these stories, because it has been one amazing story after another. We had $650,000 in hand, and we started to plan when we were going to be able to film. And we all know of this thing of the pandemic, this prolonged pandemic, and we got postponed multiple times this last year. And we got to the point where we thought we might not be able to film this. We got word that on September 18, Israel was opening, because we needed to film in both Egypt and Israel. We could get into Egypt. That wasn't the problem. It was getting into Israel that was the problem, because they were closed the entire year. And we got word they were going to open up on September 18th, and we were ecstatic. And then we found out we didn't qualify for the groups that get to come in because we were a production company. And so we were bummed. And then we got word that they might open on November 1st. And we were like, well, this is an amazing thing. But the problem is we had our Infusion Bible Conference in Parker, Colorado with Aaron and Kelly, who have flown in from Colorado. So great to have you guys here on November 8, 9, and 10. But we determined that if Israel actually opened up in early November, we could move my last talk at the conference up an hour and a half, and I could walk off the back of the stage along with my wife who was there and Mark, and we could be driven to the Denver airport, catch the plane in time to fly to Chicago to meet our Nashville crew, to then fly through Istanbul to Tel Aviv and film and get everything done before Thanksgiving. And with only a 3.5-week window, because the moment we got back, Israel closed again, God got us in to the country. And we were able to film everything that we filmed. And since that time, we have been going through this little process called editing. And the episode was finished yesterday. All right? Yesterday. It was kind of a non-negotiable on that when you've got a premiere. And we're going to get an opportunity to show you this in just a few more minutes. But what has made this so incredibly rich has been the partnership between Walking the Text and Evolve Studios. And the thing that I knew without question was that they were going to do a top-notch, top-shelf job on this project. I mean, 6-time Emmy Award-winning production studio, nearly 50 nominations, top programming for all the major companies that you know and love. And yet, what caught me by surprise in this whole process was just how deep the friendship was going to go with the people at Evolve. And as a result of just this friendship that has developed and the fact that we're all in the same area, has allowed for deeper and richer collaboration and content results that I believe you're just going to be absolutely blown away by when you see the episode. And the relationship that we have with Evolve is incredibly special. And for me, Joel, this is something where I knew that your heartstrings were tugged from the get-go. I had no idea just how deep God was going to put this into your heart. And you have been an absolute joy to partner with and the people that you work with at Evolve. And so I would be remiss if you didn't have an opportunity to hear from Joel, because this is a partnership between Walking the Text and Evolve Studios. And so if you haven't had a chance to get to meet Joel, please do so before you leave. But I'd like to invite Joel to the stage. So ladies and gentlemen, Joel Edwards. And he is
Thanks,
dapper.
brother.
Take off that hat for a second. He's got a great hairdo, you know?
Feel like we're long lost brothers.
We're long lost brothers. So as we were just talking about tonight and just wanting to be able to, share more behind how this came together and why we're so invested in this, I just asked Joel just to share with you why this has been such an important thing to him. Why is Evolve in this? Why do they want to be part of it going forward? And just so you can hear a little bit of Joel's heart as well.
Thanks, man. I don't memorize scripts as well as Brad does, so I have notes. First off, I want to say my heart's super full tonight. It's just so full. I mean, we're here in Franklin, Tennessee, a beautiful night. It's getting warm again. We moved here. We're in our 9th year. Moved here to help plant a church. Crazy the way God, takes you and shakes you and just moves you in your life. Surrounded by some of my best friends in this room, people I work with, new partners, new friends. It's crazy when you get involved with things that don't take any effort at all, and the wind just blows, and you just get to be a part of it. And I work in the entertainment industry, and most of the time we're digging through a stone rock that goes nowhere, and you're just trying to break through. And a project like this has been the opposite, so it's been so good. Man, you said it, the greatest story ever told, right? And the unfortunate thing is usually that's for the cheapest budget possible. I mean, think about that for a second. And that's been the story time and time again. And so I really appreciate you taking it seriously. To the donors that made the pilot possible, what you guys are about to watch is a proof of concept. And thank you for taking it seriously. I mean, this is serious money. This is serious work. A lot of people have been laboring over this, and we hope that the results show. But we have to take this seriously, and you guys did that. And I got to say, it's one of the first times I've seen that in 18 years in the entertainment media industry, man. It was good. Mm-hmm. You guys did it.
Yeah, I remember when we were on the phone talking about the numbers, he just said, hey, man, very few people are serious about wanting to do something at the highest quality, and very few nonprofits. And I just said, hey man, we're not like normal people. And the people who are backing this aren't normal people either, because they see what this could become.
I tried to scare him off.
You did.
I mean, I was like,
you were actually pretty persuasive.
I was like, it's going to be $500,000 minimum, so, see ya.
Yeah, exactly.
And he, he was just so serious about what it would take. And I think for us, again, you guys will see a proof of concept of what could be. We've worked really hard on a pilot. We'll talk about, where the rest of the season goes. But you'll see it and you'll get it and you'll be inspired of like, man, this could be a legacy franchise with the content that these guys have put together. And for me, I'm just in the phase of my life where I'm starting to really fall in love with the Bible, if I'm honest. If I'm super honest, it's been really hard to understand. You read about going to a well or sackcloth and ashes and tearing your robes, and that just doesn't connect with me, like a blood sacrifice. Who in here knows what a blood sacrifice is? Aside from Zach Kilm, anyone else? Sorry, Zach. There's there are these stories that like we don't connect with. What Brad and his organization, has done, his life's work, their teaching, this contextual teaching. Context is a time machine. It allows you to go back into time and to see it and to hear it and to feel it and to experience it as they did. So when you talk about storytelling, and in this case, the greatest story ever told, if you're able to take a time machine back and understand what's really happening and then connect with it, relate it to your own present day feelings, the way that your life is going, where you're at, it opens up the stories, it opens up the book, in just a mind-blowing way. It's the only way I can say it. It's the way that you guys are able to unpack this and teach and expound it is just mind-blowing. And so we were able to take that and try to format it for television and turn it into a episodic series that's adventure, that's exploration, historical. It's very educational. But we were able to leverage everything we do for National Geographic and kind of the world travel doc, but frame it from the Bible in a contextual way. And I think what we have here is like nothing that's ever been done before. I'm biased, I'll admit that, but I don't think there's anything in the world or the history of entertainment and media that exists, that is like this. This is really special.
Yeah. And this was something too that when we were exploring, and this was something that Mark and Brad and I said, this is just a non-negotiable. Like, we don't want to partner with an outstanding production studio that does top shelf work and just have them to execute our vision. We were looking for a partner that had a skill set that we did not have, that could marry what we were doing in a way and create something that neither of us could create on our own, because there would be a collaborative effort. And I remember you actually called me up one day, and I remember exactly where I was standing, and you said, hey man, what do you see this relationship being like? I just want to be crystal clear on what you're asking for. And I said, Joel, I want you and your team to take what we are doing and supersize the sucker. Like, take the best things that you have learned, the things that I don't even know exist, and take this and let's collectively build something that neither of us know exists right now, because we need one another to be able to do that. And your response was, yep, and that was the only terms on which I needed to know to make this decision that we want to be in. Because we don't want to just execute your vision. We want to collaborate on taking what we've been gifted with and taking what you've been gifted with and collectively create something that's just way beyond what we could do on our own.
Yeah, it's a culmination of, we work in so many different genres and formats for so many different people, and it's always a job, for the most part. It's always, hey, so-and-so wants this, here's the goal, target audience. What has come out of this is kind of a culmination of all the different experiences and techniques and things we've learned, and been able to hone it all together in a single moment, and in a 30-minute, show, episode that you guys will see. So we're just really thrilled about that. For me, this is definitely more than just a really fancy car to drive to tell a story. Like I said, falling in love with the Bible for the first time over the last couple of years, finally starting to really understand that, the big plot points we get in church, we get Jesus, we get forgiveness, we get grace, but what we don't understand is the linear story, that it's the same thing the whole time. Like, the Old Testament is so fascinating, and so many of us miss it because we can't understand it. And so pairing, your life's work with my life's work of trying to tell stories well, has just made this crazy thing, and I'm just really thrilled about where it's going and the potential for what it could be. The other thing that I want to add is just in 18 years of entertainment in television, I've seen so much waste. I mean, I think what did Nielsen say? It was like 182 billion minutes streamed last year or something. And everyone in here, if you're like, hey, what do you like watching? They say, oh, I don't know. I can get on Netflix. I don't know what to watch. There's a few tentpole things that everyone's talking about. There's a few shows that everybody loves, but there's so much garbage. There's billions and billions of dollars in transactions that's just wasted on kind of mind-numbing junk. And so for me, why I'm so excited about this is we have an opportunity to build something, to take it to the masses with mass distribution and say, hey, if you're interested in this story that everyone loves, that has defined Western culture, but we put it in a format and brought it to the masses in a way where there's no agenda in front of it. It's not a profit model. Like what we're trying to do is we're just trying to put it out there and make it available and say, hey, check into this story. You've heard about it. You have an experience with church. Maybe maybe you don't, but we want to actually tell the story in a unique way that we'll be able to give to those who know it well and are still rediscovering and refining, and those that don't. And it hasn't been done before. Netflix and Nat Geo will not do this series. They don't know how to, and it's not on their mandate. Like, they won't do it. But if we build it and we do it and can bring it to them at their level of excellence and quality, they have no choice to say, hey, we've got 45-50% of our target audience wants this. We just didn't know how to make it, and you guys did. So I'm really excited about being able to bring it to them and say, hey guys, here it is.
Yeah. And I think the thing that clinched it for me, it was like 3 or 4 weeks ago. We were sitting down and we were just talking through just a number of things, just even preparation for tonight and just what we were going to be able to do. And Joel just looked over at me and he just said, Brad, he goes, I honestly believe that everything that I have learned in this industry and everything we've been able to accomplish at Evolve is in the service of this project right here. That this is what God has been doing. And granted, they've got so many other projects and they're going to continue to win Emmys and do all these things. I mean, in fact, where's Mark at? Where's Mark Ablaza? Where are you at, Mark? You're going to be in the back, aren't you? Our editor for this, which obviously nobody else has seen this, but the head editor for us just got nominated for his first Emmy. All right, so I mean, we have the best of the best, and not only that, but the team at Evolve that we've been working with are just devout, passionate followers of Jesus. And to be able to find that in this kind of an industry is just unheard of. And some of you were there this morning. I had the privilege of speaking to 25,000 Christian leaders at the Q Ideas Culture Summit this morning. And I shared a little bit of my story, and a lot of you know it, but maybe some of you don't, is that I was serving as the lead teaching pastor in West Michigan, Holland, with a fantastic church, Central Wesleyan. And just over 5 years ago, Shallon and I, my wife and I, we had this 2-week window where we just sensed God saying very clearly, I want you to resign and move to Nashville. And that's all you get. And it was crystal clear, absolutely crystal clear that we were called to leave, muddy as all get out as to why. And we literally 2 weeks later stood in front of our congregation, said we have no idea why we are leaving, but we are leaving and we're moving to Nashville. And we moved down here, and the first year that we were here, no idea why we were here. I had a few speaking engagements, I had a few trips to the Middle East, but we moved to a market that was twice what we moved out of, and I made 40% of the salary I made the last year of being in West Michigan. Like, we were burning through savings like crazy, and it was like, God, what are you doing? Like, did we totally miss this? And it was just over and over again, God just affirming, patience. I've got this. I've been with you every step of the way. And it started then with just an amazing relationship with Darren and with Church of the City, our home church now that we just love dearly. And then there were some other things that started to make sense. But when all of this started coming together, those of you who know my story well, you all called me up and you go, yep, that's why God moved you to Nashville, was this project right here, or it's at least a major reason of it. And so just sensing how God has been guiding, my story, my team's story, our family story, and then just hearing how God has been guiding Joel and his family and his team, it's a match made in Franklin, match made in Franklin.
Oh, there's a lot of those.
There's a lot of those right now.
This is truly a special place, and I love that some of the best, forward, most important and impactful stories are going to be told. So much of our industry, entertainment in general, is coming here. So for this to be leading the charge from Franklin, from a devout believer, a group of believers, I think is really powerful. I will, I've had the gift and the opportunity to do a lot of different things, to see all of the world and work on a lot of different projects, tell a lot of different stories. And I got to tell you, and I've told a lot of you guys this, I'm truly the most excited about this one because it's pairing my love and my identity with my Father in heaven, my Creator, maker of heaven and earth. But I don't understand it all. So now I get to dive in and help tell those stories and learn it while we're doing it. It's just so cool. It's truly, truly special. So I'm grateful. And thank you all for being here. Appreciate sharing this with you guys.
Well, there you have it. It's a remarkable story, is it not? I mean, we've just been so moved by how God has been shaping this whole thing, and we are so excited about what is to come. The rest of season 1 is in development right now. God willing, it will be released next year, but you have an opportunity to get an exclusive preview of episode 1, Our Father, when it drops at the end of this month. So if you are not signed up at thesacredthread.tv, be sure to do that. It's the only way you're going to be able to watch that episode, and we're so excited that you're on this journey with us, and it's going to be quite a ride. So thanks for tuning in. Check out thesacredthread.tv. Can't wait to share this first episode with you.